Hey everyone, it's Mike Andes. I'm the founder of Augusta Lawn Care, where we have over 200 locations around the world, and I am the founder of Homeworks, software built for home service business owners to grow without breaking. And today I'm actually talking to members of Homeworks inside of our annual Momentum call. We're doing Q&A, and we're going to be talking about how you can grow your home service business, scale up your marketing channels to actually be able to dump money on one specific platform, how to test that platform, and just all other questions revolving around how to grow your home service business. Without any further delay, let's go ahead and roll the tape.
Where do you see Copilot in a year?
Yeah, well, it won't be called Copilot. It'll be called Homeworks. That's the first thing. The second thing I would say is a lot of features that we're working on, just a lot clearer in how they affect sales, operations, and admin. So from an operations perspective, like next week, you're gonna see save routes come out. And like there's a lot of work going on in like the dispatch board, especially when you start doing a huge volume of recurring visits. On the sales side, instant quotes is gonna be very important to us, as well as the price book. So those are two big things that in 2026 we're working on, to be able to build out a quote very quickly without having to use like a spreadsheet or calculator, anything like that. And then behind the estimate, have all the components of the job, both their cost and their price to the customer on the back end. So by doing that, we'll be able to do a much better job of job costing, because like right now you can do job costing, but it's at the job level. The ability to be able to build out an estimate where I put in there, okay, like a foot of pipe costs me $1 and I charge $3. If I can then have all the components of the job, including labor, materials, all being created for you, I can tell you exactly what you're gonna make in terms of profit on the job. So sales, that's, operations, more the dispatch, kind of the organization side. From the admin perspective, a lot of it is this honestly design. Even for like behind me at Augusta here, during the spring rush, we'll have about 70 to 80 people on the phone doing admin every day. If I can just save everyone 1 second, one less click, one less getting distracted by something that shouldn't be popping up at the wrong time, that's really important. And so our goal is like, you'll see a lot of things, even like the unscheduled work and wait list that just came out. It looks a little bit different. Like the filtering looks a little different. It's a little cleaner. Those are the type of little changes from an admin perspective we're really focused on. And that's just like the overall tightening of the design so that someone that you drop into the system can learn it much faster because it's more intuitive. So for example, one of the pages I hate the most is like the customer list page right now. Tons of filters at the top. There's a lot of buttons, a lot of things happening. We can change that design to where it's very intuitive to when you get in there, like, oh, I can very quickly find the service I want. I can very quickly find the zip code, or if they're currently on service or if they have a pause service. Those are the type of things that we can just make better. And so a lot of what we're doing in 2026 is just making what is there better, faster, easier to navigate, but then also building some tools that I think will really help with sales, especially instant quotes and the price book. And then secondly, from an operation perspective, a lot of scheduling stuff, things around like multi-step routes, etc. That's a very long answer to your very short question, but I appreciate it nonetheless for breaking the ice. All right, let's go ahead and Jacqueline.
Hey, question for you for our context. So we're a 740,000 business, 9 years coming. Generally have stuck in profit mode for the last 3 years and tweaking and building. I have had great intentions of getting P for P and have failed every year for 3 years now. But we converted to Copilot last year.
Okay.
And our problem has gone, we're a multidisciplinary service, and that's where we get stuck. And that crossover and diversity, as we're like the one's 33%, irrigation tech would be, 40%, but then weed control is like 20%. Where we tried the software and we couldn't have, we haven't tackled it again.
No.
We tackled it in spring, and it was with Copilot transition. We just said, hey,
Too much.
we're going to fix it later.
Yep. The good thing is you did the hardest part, which is the switch to Copilot. Now
Yeah.
making the P for P part will be way easier. And so how you can make this work, Jacqueline, is inside of your items and services of Copilot, you can adjust the rate that is just for P for P. Now, what's nice about that is it doesn't change anything inside Copilot or your billing or invoicing. So you could just simply move that number to make sure that it corresponds with the correct service and move that number up or down, the rate. So if you go to item and services for weeding versus mowing versus all these other things, there's a separate line in there. It's just for the sync to P for P, and it's the rate for P for P.
Oh, Even in the SKU.
Correct. Right in the
Oh,
item and service. And so that way it should just sync up. So like we built that just for this one reason, and that is people have different rates and different percentages for different types of services. If you manipulate that number, it'll come across to Copilot or to P4P correctly.
was that always there?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Well, I guess spring rush happens, right? I
It's
like 'cause
okay.
we
But
couldn't solve that, I guess, at the time.
it's
But yeah,
not super intuitive because what everyone thinks is that the rate and the P4P rate should be the same, right?
yeah.
And theoretically, if all your percentages was, you would be.
I wish.
But yeah, but you can just move that number up, and then it'll move over inside P4P. Like it'll adjust on P4P.
Okay, so
Right.
that is easier to handle. It has been built with. Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's not going to be perfect because you are kind of inflating what looks like your hourly rate is. So that could throw like some of your reports slightly off. But in terms of the actual, how much are they earning, all that will come across clean. I'll also say once you try that out and you're like, oh, well, what about this, this, and this? Book a call with Lael. You can do it even if you're not a member. Just go sign up, go to the support, and book a call with her, and she'll just be like, "Oh yeah, just change just one or two things, or your percentages can change here." Or like, for example, some of your team members might mostly be on mowing or mostly be on weeding. She'll
Really?
just say, "Hey, at the user level, change out those percentages, and we can make it cleaner."
Okay.
Okay.
Hey everyone, real quick, I just wanted to make a shout out. This call that you're watching right now is actually what we call our momentum call at Copilot. It's one of the calls that we have every year with all the members inside of Copilot. And so if you ever thought about joining Copilot or switching softwares, I highly recommend doing it right now. This is the best time of year to do it. And we are really interested in helping you grow your business, not just have software and make a box of features and have you on a subscription and lock you into a contract. We don't do that. We have a guarantee that you'll grow your business or your money comes back to you. And in order to do that, we make sure we have these calls where we go over your goals. We actually have a goal session and a planning session. And the entire first year is full of calls with support to be able to make sure you grow your business, both in revenue and in profits. So if you've considered joining, go check out copilotcrm.com, book a call with Christian. He's our head of sales. He also used to be my personal trainer. He's a great guy, and he'll see if joining Copilot is the right fit for your business. All right, James, I believe, is up next.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Doing well. So last year we had kind of an interesting year with marketing. We primarily did direct mail and door hangers. It's done pretty good for us in the past. Last year, between direct mail and door hangers, we probably put out about 3,000 to 3,000 residents. And we got like 5, maybe 10 calls off of all of that.
Okay.
And there were some things I changed in the marketing, but I'm just curious, what's like a good call rate for marketing?
Yeah, so are you all door hangers that you did the 3,000 on?
Door hangers and postcards.
Okay, so do you know of those 3,000, how many were door hangers and how many were postcards?
Postcards is about 1,500.
Okay, and of the 6 calls that came in, how many of them were from postcards and how many were for door hangers?
It was a pretty even split.
Okay, so you have a 1 in 500 hit rate in terms of a response rate for as a blended average. That's a good starting point. Most people don't even come up with the number because then it's a function of I don't believe you are yet in a position to do more. So you have more, better, new. More would be, hey, this is working. Let's go do more of them. I'd say go do 30,000 instead of 3,000. The problem is you can't do more because the math doesn't math when you're getting 1 out of 500. And so this is when better steps into play. And most people go think new. I don't think that because 1 out of 500 is a benchmark that I think you can eventually down the road increase that effectiveness by 5, like 5x. I think get to 1 out of 100. And then you start have a real good marketing machine. Like, okay, if I can put out 100 of these an hour, that's 1 per hour. If I pay someone to do that, it's $25. With my print cost, that's $30. The cost per lead, $30. That'd be great. And so I would say this is actually a function of doing it better. And the reason I say that is because when we started doing door hangers at Augusta, our hit rate was very similar to yours. We've done 24 versions of the door hanger now to get it to where it is 5 times better. And in terms of like 1 out of 100 as an approximation. So to get there though, it'll mean like, okay, now next year when you do 3,000, let's do 1,500 of them that have instant quote, and let's have 1,500 of them that don't have instant quotes, like the actual price of the job. Let's have 50, and then you can again do another with the 1,500. All right, 1,500 that have a QR code, 1,500 where they write in their email address and their phone number. These are the type of things that you start split testing to get to where the exact same number of door hangers will produce 5 times more results.
That makes sense. The one thing we did change that year was we did switch over to, it wasn't exactly an instant quote, but we had like a starting rate listed on the door hanger. We've never done that before. And so I'm wondering if it was just kind of a turnoff for people
Yeah,
seeing, because we are a little bit
we
higher.
haven't yeah, we have not seen that move the needle in terms of conversion. I'll just
Okay.
we tested this. So when you say starting at, if they basically think of that as, oh, that's the lowest price, I'm only gonna be higher than that. Which unfortunately, when it comes to numbers, higher is infinite. And so they think like, okay, if they say starting at $50, oh, I'm probably 80 or 90. Well, they could very well be $50. And so I would highly recommend, James, like, it doesn't sound promotional, but like check out lawncaremedia.com. Don't even have to buy the door hanger. Just go to that one. That was one of our like I think our 15th version that we used at Augusta. We've now customized a little bit more because we have the command center to be able to do some cool stuff with in terms of instant quotes and collecting card information. But you could start there with a design of like, okay, I know that just doing that design will double the amount that you're getting from door hangers compared to like doing a starting at number. If you have a QR code on it, it'll also improve the conversion, not in how many people respond, but in the legibility. Legibility of the information. Because when they write on it, it messes up to some degree. Right. I also know that if I offer more than one service, I'll increase the conversion rate. Because now I might swing and miss on a mowing service, but because I put a property cleanup price on there, I get some percentage of people on that. Right. So like you can get that conversion way improved just by doing more. Like that's why like, it's I'm happy that you tracked it. Because if you track it, then you can improve on it and split test and see what works. And then you're going to be like, okay, I tried that in my market. It actually got worse. Okay, don't do that. Let's do the opposite of that. And so it'll take you a while, but like I would not give up on any channel when it's like, is it good? Is it bad? It's like, how well did you do it? How many did you do? How long did you stick to it? How many iterations did you like? There's so many more questions I'd have to ask, right?
Right.
Like if I was giving away lawn care service, I'd probably get a pretty good hit rate, regardless of whether or not that door hanger worked or not. If I just said everything is free forever, we get a great hit rate, you know? So.
And then one more question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, things have been pretty tight throughout the last 5 years. And one of the things we keep running into kind of off of your like 4L framework is we have a lead problem, but it's kind of caused because of a liquidity problem. We don't have the money for marketing. So we're kind of stuck in this loop of where we can't market enough to get the liquidity, but we don't have the liquidity to market. So how would you suggest kind of breaking out of that?
Yeah, so if you don't have money, i.e. liquidity to get leads, the question becomes, how do I get leads without spending money? There are a few things you can do. One is you can do things that require time instead of money. For example, like door hangers, where for $50, you can get a thousand plus of them and go out and put them like yourself. So first step would be I go spend time instead of money because I don't have money. And especially when you're slow, like there's no reason but not to go out and do that. The second thing would be, are you extinguishing all other aspects of marketing that don't require money, i.e., upselling, cross-selling, talking to existing customers, emailing and texting them additional offers? Those are the things that you could double the size of your business and keep the same number of customers and never get a new lead next year. So one of our locations at Augusta, I just went through we pulled their metrics. I looked at their numbers from last year versus this year. Their profit doubled. Number of customers went down by 10%. And they didn't raise prices. They simply took the existing customers they had and just sold more stuff to them. So their annual ticket, the average annual ticket of each customer or average annual value went up by like 40%. They got better at sending text messages to the customer of spring and fall cleanup. And on average, people accepted one of them. On average, that was $600. That increased the average ticket by more than 40% because if they just mowed their lawn, it was like $800 to $900, right? So I would first, like, for example, like, do you send a monthly email blast to all the customers inside of Copilot?
No.
Step number one, completely free. Are you an enterprise right now, James, or lower?
Enterprise, yeah.
Okay, you have free text messages right now. Eventually, we're gonna have to charge for it. They're free to text your customers. How many contacts do you have in your database?
Probably about 800.
Let's go.
So we bought the business from a guy who failed as a business owner. We bought it with a bad reputation and tried to turn it around, which was a bad move on my part. So a lot of those customers don't like us.
Did you change the name of the business or not?
No.
Okay. And these other customers, let's assume that out of 800, 600 of them had a bad experience. How many of them know that the ownership changed?
We did send out an email. I don't know how many people saw it. This was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. So like 4 or 5 years ago, no one remembers. They don't care. They don't think about you. They don't think about your business. If this was 4 months ago, I'd give some weight to it. But even then, people just don't remember. So I would highly recommend thinking of all these people's cold traffic. Honestly, they don't remember who you are. Half the text messages are going to bounce. Half the emails are going to bounce. But I would definitely be doing an email and a text message. And even if do you have them segmented, James? But like the ones that were bad, like that you kind of burned, that he burned.
Kind of by date, if that makes sense.
Yeah, effective date. Yeah, cool. So I would send all of them an email. I'd make that one much more graphical. You can put embedded video inside of the email builder of Copilot, and I would explain what you've done over the past 4 or 5 years to change the reputation of XYZ business. We've done this. We've done this. We now have a software. We answer our phones. We have reviews. Here's a bunch of them. We have our money back guarantee. We do all these things now that are different. And so if you got burned in the past, I'm sorry about that. And when I purchased this business, I didn't know that. But I promise if you're willing to come back and give us a try, we're going to over deliver for you. And then the people that have no idea about that old one, you're going to address with an offer for a service that's required at this time of year. So in my opinion, like when I hear 800 customers, and let's say 500 or 600 of them are the old people, 200 or 300 new people. All right, 200 to 300 new people. When we go into spring, we're gonna get them on a spring cleanup early in the year, prior to when everyone else is calling us. Like 4 to 6 weeks before the phone starts ringing off the hook, we're gonna email and text 200 to 300 people that have already done business with you in the past few years and they like you. You're gonna email them all and you're gonna text them all in a very personalized fashion, saying, "Hey, it's James over here, XYZ Lawn Care. Would love to do service for you this time of year because we get really busy in a couple months. But as a valued customer, I'd like to give you priority. I'll give you a quote tomorrow if you like it. Sound good?" That will convert. Text and email. And then to the other 500 people, you're going to do the first route, which is, "I'm sorry for your experience in the past. Here's all the things we've changed." Make a video and embed that on your email and do a link inside of a text message to all of them otherwise. My GMs are not allowed to spend one single dollar on marketing until they have text and email every single one of their customers. And they don't spend money on marketing because of it. And it's free, James. It's free. It's just do it. Just do it. Cool. Good stuff. All right, Bob, go ahead.
Mike, thanks for the invite, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Been following you for a long time here, and I want to thank you for creating P4P. I gotta say, I heard Jacqueline, I think it was Caleb, talking about implementing it. I implemented it 3 years ago, completely changed the business for the positive. Couldn't imagine being in business without it.
You and me both.
Awesome. But that said, want to share one of the biggest wins for this year, no doubt, was the stability of the team. We had the lowest turnover ever. We turned over to one guy on May 20th. The following day, we were able to hire somebody, and the team has been solid since. It's awesome. And I guess the question I have is, how do we keep it this way? We're not, we're an 8-person company, and I just don't. Right now, I'm just like I said before P4P, we weren't profitable, so I never really knew how that felt, and we have been, and I want to keep the people here, but we run a very flat, lean organization where there's literally no mid-level management. How do we keep them there? How do we keep them motivated?
Good stuff. You get the wheelchair and you get the crib in the same situation. Let's go. Yeah. So I would say this is when the trinity of the trades comes into play. So that's P4P, open book management, and profit sharing, right? So have you done open book management and profit sharing yet?
Yes, we got quarterly profit sharing. Last quarter, everybody
was eligible. Cool, awesome. So I think you have in place what would be, I would say, is a maximized form of one location. Like you have all your team incentivized on their daily as individuals. You have them incentivized from a team perspective and the business from a profit sharing perspective. The only other way to, if you're thinking about your team and keeping that way, is to create levels in the business. And if you're like, that doesn't serve my needs, then don't do it. Right. And it's like where the book, like there was several times I'm like, I should not write this book because most people should build the business you've just built and just keep optimizing it and be very happy. And so if there's not if that's not in the cards, which it doesn't need to be, just realize that the hardest part for you is going to be now, Bob, is you built a great team, you're making money, but then you're going to lose people that stay with you for a few years and like they just got to move on to something else. And so what I would do is I would take the first 7 stages of success. You could basically rip it straight off, and for the first 7 stages, and then realize that you might lose some people to the next stage of their career because they outgrow your business. But that's something that is something to be celebrated, given the fact that you know you're only offering half the ladder. And so you instead, when someone leaves to a different company and goes to construction or they go to oil or do something in college, you celebrate that with the team. And if you do, they'll actually believe you when you say you want them to get to the next stage of their career, even if that means leaving the company. And so before we had the GM track, before we had the owner track, and we had the other 14 stages, we would celebrate when people left the company, assuming they were moving on to something bigger, better, they're going to make more money, educate themselves more. And so make it all about the learning and getting the next stage of their career. And they'll just realize there'll be people that get through all the stages and they'll have to jump. And that's okay. So take the 7 stages. I would probably, if I was you, Bob, change the 6th and 7th one to be things that take a little bit longer. You could also adjust P for P to where when they hit like a 7th stage of success for a technician, that their percentage on P for P goes up. You just change that one number on P for P, be like, hey, you go from 25 to 28 or 30 or whatever. You could bake in some compensation there, but usually people leave if they're an A player, mostly because of opportunity, other skills they want to, goals they have. And that is something to be, in my opinion, celebrated if they're moving on to something bigger that you can't offer.
Very good. Thanks.
You got it, brother. Congrats on all the success. All right. JRCNC Landscaping. Go ahead.
Hey Mike, how are you? Big fan
Good,
of
brother.
you. So this is where I am right now. So we're gonna be around. Last year we did about 7 and change, or just 750. This year I'm being conservative. We still got to do some cleanups, a second round of cleanups, fall cleanups. We just got snow here in Mass. We won't be able to. Got to wait for that to dry out, to melt away. But this is where I am. I want to implement the P for P for next season, but we do the way we try to do the control growth. You know what I mean? So like we try to be profitable and try to keep everything running smoothly. We're around 192 clients. My foreman makes $30 an hour. The next guy makes 26. The guy after below him 25, and then the most cost effective guy is 23.
Okay.
Where do I? Everything's so high. Where do I go from there?
Mm-hmm. This is you might not know this number, and that's fine. When you look at last year's revenue, the 750, do you know
Mhm.
what your wages were on that?
Yes.
Okay, do you know what it
So
is?
overall, for everything, we're around 360 for
Okay,
everything, for all of them. The same
okay,
guys that I have now is the same guys that we had it
okay.
last season.
Does that include your pay, the
No,
360 or
that does
not?
not.
No.
No,
Okay.
just themselves.
What percentage of your day is spent in the field versus not?
100%.
Oh, where you're in
I'm
the
in
field,
LA.
like
Yeah,
producing revenue all the day.
yeah,
Okay,
correct.
so I'm gonna go ahead and pretend like you're a field member,
Uh-huh.
and producing about 125,000. So
Yeah, just about.
125,000.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what we can therefore say is if we take your labor revenue out, the business made $625,000 of with them.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're saying that we paid them 326, like 320 last year.
Yeah.
So if we take 320,000, divide that out by 625,000, that means right now you're paying about 51% of total revenue to wages.
Correct. And that's a little high, but for what I'm getting, you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
believe that
yeah, I get you.
they're
So
great
this is what I
workers.
would do. Totally. I agree. What I would then say is as long as you beat that number, we're going to win. We're going to win. Like in terms of there's only upside for you. And so I also know that that number is very high and we can improve it dramatically with P for P. Because like your efficiency score, if I had to take a stab at it, it's probably like 60%. Yeah. And so that number can get well above 75 to 80%. And the delta of the increase in their efficiency, they can make more money and you can make more money. And so the next question becomes how do you do it equitably when you have people at 30, 26, 23, 25, and all over the place? My
Hmm.
question is of those 4 guys, are they all doing the exact same thing or is the guy that's doing $30, like, is he kind of like their manager?
So he was the manager for those three guys, those two guys, I'm sorry. So it was a crew of three.
Yeah.
So he used to manage the other two guys. with him on one truck. I would take the other truck.
He's a crew leader essentially,
Yeah,
but he's been with you
yeah,
for a very long time.
correct.
So this is what I would do. I would, if you, because it sounds like you keep these guys for a long time, they're very loyal and you do not want to lose them. And so how I would pitch this to them is say, hey guys, I'm trying to figure out this P for P thing. I want to pay you the harder you work, the more efficient you are. And it's going to take me a little bit of time. I'm going to be doing some math on the back end, but I want to figure out a way where you can make more money if you get jobs done faster and if you're working quicker. But you're not going to go down, right? So you're going to protect their base pay. Now, in years to come, when you hire new people, we need to know what their base pay is going to be. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's around $23. I know your market pretty decently. $23 is probably what you need to be able to pay to get an entry level person that's half decent. So that could be your base pay. You have people above that. Now, if you had a larger team, I would probably say you have a few people above, you just say, hey, this is the base pay and we're rolling. And you might lose one or two of them. In this case, you don't want to do that. That's your biggest fear. So what you could do is just have a different percentage on P for P based upon tenor. I am not a fan of this usually. But given the fact that these guys have been with you for a very long time, there's no one churning, like you want to maintain these 4 people, I would say try to find the commonalities between what is different between 23, 25, 26, 30. I'm going to go on a limit saying it's something to do with tenor, like how long they've been with you. So for example, you could say, hey, you start at 23. After 1 year, you're at 25. At 26, you could bake your base pay goes up on P for P.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. I appreciate your help. Thank you for everything and everything that you do. Thank you, as always. Been
My
nothing
pleasure,
but
brother.
great. Thank you for everything.
You got it. All right, 907, you've been gifted the final question.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's a really quick and easy one. I've got a guy who I think is awesome. He does an amazing on P for P. He's great by himself. His problem comes with like mentoring the new guys. He can definitely be a bit snippy with them. Every year he says he wants to move into this management position, but then every single year we kind of have the same kind of issue. And
Yeah.
I end up taking it back just to, I don't want to lose my best producer, but at the same, and how do I find the balance? And what can I do to lead him out of that? Or,
So the biggest question is, does he see this as an issue?
Yeah, he definitely, every time we've spoken about it, he hits the reflection and he recognizes it. He's also amazing at coming back the next day and being like, look, I was definitely out of line yesterday. So he definitely sees it, but I would say it is getting better, just not good enough fast enough. We're probably 90% amazing, 10% a problem, but in the middle of spring rush, you can't have that happen.
So the best thing is he knows it's a problem, right? If someone doesn't know it's a problem, it always ends ugly. They think they're doing just fine, and you're like, nope, you're not doing good. Almost always leads to being fired because they want this position, you say no. They want this position, you say no, and eventually they get frustrated and they leave. So the fact that he knows and recognizes the problem allows you to be able to have a conversation around, I want you also to have this management position. We both understand there are certain limitations that you have that are preventing you from getting this position. Let's team up on this together and figure out what we can do to make sure you get this position. And then together you brainstorm and you try to get him to say as much as possible of the things that need to change. And then you get to step up and be like, okay, great. I can help you, give you a roadmap to how to make those changes happen. So in your back pocket, you would probably want to have certain things of what you're going to tell him and then benchmarks of success. So for example, instead of saying, okay, you're the general manager, I would say, I need to train one team member that's green to do a very simple service. That's like step number 1. I'd try to break it down for them and that you could recon after each of the steps. One of them might be reading a book, like Leadership Training and Tactics. And then like, hey, let's read this together, 1 chapter a week. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. At the end of the chapter, we'll recon it together and figure out what we learned. We, not you, we learned together. And we'll make sure how we can identify the areas that you can apply that to your leadership style. Right? So this becomes the classic, leading a leader is very different than leading a technician. And so it's a very different skill and you will have to invest a lot into people and then they will break your heart because they will leave after you do all the training.
Well, as long as it's for better.
Yeah. So like even this week, I think I got 3 or 4 or 5, I forget, 4 of them are going down and we're sending them all out to Dallas for some leadership training. It's not cheap. It'll cost me $6,000 to $7,000 per person. But I know that the highest leverage you have in the business is better leadership. Because if they have 6, 8, 10 people that they're managing and they all get 10% more efficient, that's the best $6,000 to $7,000 you'll ever spend in your whole life. Right.
Awesome.
So the time right now, you might not be spending that kind of money on like getting leadership training for them. But what you are going to spend on is time, and ideally doing it during your slow season. You go through things like a book. You figure out what are the benchmarks before you become this position. What do we need to do to get there, and what needs to change in behavior. And then spend like it's going to take time. That's what it's going to. It's going to you working with him on his skills, and as long as you come from the position of we are both trying to fight the enemy. The enemy is there are things preventing you from getting this position, and together we're going to figure out how you can get there. Instead of like you need to do this in order to get a promotion. Like it's just not.
No,
gonna
I
go
get
well.
it. I appreciate it. That's a great different tactic to take it to, because I feel like I definitely do like, hey, I want to pay you more money, but like this isn't happening.
Yep.
So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right. I love you all. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend. I do have to bounce to another call, but I will see you on the mastermind and on the Facebook group. But I appreciate you all tremendously. Cheers to another year of Copilot, the last one before we go to Homeworks. But I love you all, and I appreciate you all. Take care.